infectious diseases than medical professionals like Dr. Fauci, who actually works for the administration. I don't know why they're so against Dr. Fauci. The president says he has a good relationship with Dr. Fauci, but his staff members do nothing but put Dr. Fauci down, and everything he says that he's an alarmist and that he's wrong about everything. I mean, come on. This man has got a PhD. He's worked in this field with infectious disease for over 30 years. Over, not 30 years. Over. The dude is like 60 something years old. He's been a scientist in working in this field with infectious disease since he was in his late 20s. So maybe over 40 years. But these governors have played politics with this pandemic, and now they're paying their state. The governors are not paying the price. Maybe politically they will pay the price when they lose their jobs. The next election for governor in Florida and Texas, but they're playing politics with this pandemic, and it is and always was a bad idea. It was a dumb idea. An idea based in ignorance and stupidity. Okay, these are people's lives that you're playing with, sirs. Okay? These governors, I have not heard any reports that these governors' staff members have contracted the coronavirus, but it's just around the corner, more than likely. The way it's spreading throughout Texas, and Texas is a huge state, land-wise. They've got some big cities in Texas, but not most of it is just the desert, the whole state. They've got Dallas, and Fort Worth is right like 2 centimeters away from Dallas on the west side of town of Dallas is Fort Worth. So that just makes this Fort Worth is like it's its own city, but it's like a suburb of Dallas. So that's a big metropolis area there, Dallas, Fort Worth. Houston is another big city in Texas. San Antonio. They've got some small cities, Texarkana, Texas, and El Paso. It's way out on the west. Corpus Christi, right down there around the Gulf Coast. But there's a lot of small towns right around the border of Mexico and Texas. But there's a lot of land that's just in Texas. So I don't understand how that virus is spread. There's Austin, that's right in the middle of the state, on the southern part of it. And that's where the major university is in Texas University. It was a very popular area down around the Austin area. But I really don't understand how that virus is spread like that in Texas, because it's a lot of land in between some of these towns, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's wall-to-wall people. It's a huge state, but it's not wall-to-wall people. They can social distance, some of them in these small towns, without even trying to. But these major metropolises, you're not going to social distance unless you're trying to. So they needed the governors and the mayors to tell them this is what we need to do to slow the spread of COVID-19, but their governor, he didn't do that. So now he's paying the price. And the same thing with Florida. Only Florida is a smaller landmass than Texas, but there's a lot of people in Florida. It's a tropic area. I mean, they have a lot of hurricanes, but people seem to want to live down there regardless of that. And a lot of old people live in Florida. A lot of people who retire and they have money, they move to Florida so they won't have to be in an area where it's cold anymore. Because Florida is basically warm all year round. Only time it's cold in Florida is when they have in its winter months. Winter everywhere else in the U.S., but in the wintertime, when it's still warm down there and they have a storm, then it's kind of cold. It's not frozen, it's not snowing, but it gets kind of cold sometimes if it's raining and it's, in January. The rest of the country, except for in the South, which, by the way, it's warm in the South, people who believe in conspiracy theories, because they're closer to the equator, which is warmer because the Earth is round. And the equator is just that much closer to the sun because, the planet is round. So I thought I'd throw that in there because of all the conspiracy theory dumbasses are crazy. They're not. Some of them are pretty stupid, but most of them are just got a mental glitch. Call it crazy. Crazy town. All right. And with that segment, we're going to go to break. And I promise you, when we come back, we're going to talk about something else. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this.
You're listening to the legendary podcaster, the one, the only, T-Jam D. Your personal favorite, and the show you've been waiting for. Probably offensive.
You're listening to a man who's so sexy it's completely ridiculous. Mr. Anthony Scott Dover. Yummy.
Yes. We're back. There are a few people that have passed away that I wanted to mention. An actress named Kelly Preston. You guys might remember her from Jerry Maguire. She was his girlfriend that he broke up with, and she called him a loser in the movie Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire, a very popular movie, but it's old now. Very old, so I don't expect young people to have seen it, but you should check it out. It's a pretty good movie. Tom Cruise movie with him playing a sports agent and Cuba Gooding Jr. as a wide receiver in the National Football League playing for the Cardinals. Based on a true story, the Cardinals really did have a receiver by that name. He was very good for a short time. He's not a Hall of Famer or anything, but anyway, Kelly Preston was in that movie. She was in a number of other movies, but that probably, even though she didn't have a huge role in Jerry Maguire, that's probably the one she's the most popular for. She's been in several movies. Kelly Preston passed away. So that she was married to John Travolta. That's what most people know about her. People who pay attention to the entertainment business, that Kelly Preston was the wife of John Travolta. I really can't think some of her other stuff. What was Kelly in? Besides Jerry Maguire, I know she was in a movie with Eddie Murphy and Jeff Goldblum. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I think maybe the movie Eddie Murphy was a guy who they put on the Home Shopping Network, and he got the best ratings that the show had ever had. So Kelly Preston, her character, and Jeff Goldblum's character was producers of the show on Home Shopping Network, and they was trying to keep Eddie Murphy's character on the show. So that I don't remember the title to that show, but anyway, condolences to the family member, to John Travolta, and I don't know if him and Kelly had kids together, but she had breast cancer and she passed. My Uncle Rick Allen, not a celebrity, not a person that most people would know, although maybe some people here in Springfield, Ohio would know Uncle Rick, as I called him, as we called him. He passed away just a few days ago, so I was a little saddened. He was one of my favorite uncles, although I didn't see him a lot and talk to him. He was one of my favorite uncles. He told me when I was a kid, and my brothers and my sister, that he was our uncle because it had been told to us before that he was our cousin, which was ridiculously nonsensical because our father was raised by his grandmother, and so they pretended like he was their child instead of their grandson. And a lot of grandparents raise children. A lot of grandparents raise grandchildren. But the weirdest thing in the world that I think that I've seen happen on more than one occasion is grandparents pretending like the child is theirs. Why can't you just raise your grandchild as your grandchild? You don't have to pretend like the kid is your son or daughter. You can love the kid and take care of him just the same if he's your grandchild. There's no need for the huge lie. It's so ridiculous and unnecessary. Okay, but my Uncle Rick, when I was a kid, told me that your father was my brother. He told us the truth. Unlike his brother, Jeff, who told us he was our cousin, Uncle Rick told us the truth. So he was one of my favorite uncles because of that. He passed away, so rest in peace, Uncle Rick. I digress. Anyway, since I brought this up about the grandparents who raise children as their own, which are their grandchildren, sometimes when someone has a kid and they're young, teenager, 16, 17, they don't know how to take care of a kid and they suck as a parent, the parents of that teenager will raise that kid. I just don't understand why in so many cases they raise the kid as their own. Why can't you just tell the kid, you're not my child, you're my grandchild. We just raised you because your mom didn't know what she was doing. Okay, so you're a grandchild. Your mom has some other kids who are your brothers and sisters. They're not your nephews. Okay, it's so silly for me when you have an uncle like I did who told me he was our uncle, and we called him Uncle Rick our whole lives. He told us when we were very young kids that he's our uncle. Your dad was my brother. He told us this when we were very young. So practically our whole lives, we called him Uncle Rick, which he was our biological uncle. But the silliness comes in with his brother.